Hello, everyone. Amidst the multiple and multifaceted crises that have plunged Lebanon into poverty, a generation of children are most at risk. These crises have threatened their well-being and robbed our youth from their most basic rights, such as the right to an education, protection, and safety. Lebanon was previously making some progress towards a number of child-related sustainable development goals, but the complex humanitarian situation of the country has unfortunately reversed these gains and has had a sharp impact on children of all ages, may it be Lebanese or refugees, Syrian and Palestinian. The COVID-19 pandemic, the Beirut blast, and the dire economic crisis have deeply affected access to schooling, dropouts, child and adolescent health, nutrition and safety, child and adolescent protection, child and adolescent poverty, which has increased drastically. And we've seen an increase in exposure to violence and gender-based violence, which is violence, again, against women and girls, to name but a few of the disastrous impacts of these crises on our youth. This is why the work that has been done by this incredible group of students is so important. I'm honored to be with you today at the AUB Engage Forum and moderating this panel, which showcases the student-led community interventions specifically on adolescent safety and protection. We will begin with the first intervention from USAID Higher Education Scholarship Program scholars entitled Gun Violence in Ain al-Helwe, Emergency and Psychological First Aid in the Falouja UNRWA School. The floor is yours.
Growing up in a camp where gun violence is a daily reality has made me realize that something needs to be done. And that's how we came up with this project, tackling gun violence in Ain al-Helwe by providing emergency and psychological first aid training. First, we will start discussing gun violence in low and middle income countries, and then we will discuss its effects on children and its context in Lebanon and in refugees, Palestinian refugees camps, especially Ain al-Helwe. And finally, we're going to propose an intervention for our project.
So what is gun violence? Gun violence is a complex phenomenon linked to high levels of inequality, exclusion, and structural constraints, such as corruption, weak rule of law, and intergenerational reproduction of poverty. Over 250,000 individuals worldwide are killed by guns annually. While gun violence affects all countries globally, the burden is significantly higher in many low and middle income countries. Despite the overwhelming statistics, there is a lack of reporting, research, and prioritization of gun violence as a global public health issue. And when attention is given, it is usually focused in many high-income countries. Race, socioeconomic status, and domestic violence can all increase the risk of children being exposed to gun violence. This is traumatic for children and can cause both short and long-term psychological harm, isolation, and desensitization to violence, as well as PTSD. Children may have trouble building relationships with their peers and teachers and will develop a shorter attention span, leading to a poor academic performance. Moving to the Lebanese context, the law prohibits the possession and transport of weapons and ammunition without obtaining a permit from the commander of the army. Nevertheless, Lebanon does not regulate or restrict the use of firearms. In 2017, 1/3 of the Lebanese population privately owned firearms. Hence, arguments can quickly escalate to gun violence, leading to about 7 deaths and 15 injuries per year because of stray bullets. Now, gun violence is especially prevalent in Lebanon's 12 Palestinian refugee camps, where 93% of the people are below poverty line. They suffer from many issues, such as inadequate healthcare services, high levels of unemployment, and child and youth deprivation. They are isolated from the Lebanese society and have almost no military presence, creating a lawless environment controlled by armed factions.
The largest of all these refugees camps is, in terms of area and population, is Ain al-Helwe camp. It all started in 1948, where Ain al-Helwe was established in Saida, South Lebanon, to accommodate refugees from northern Palestine as a result of Nakba. In 1952, the United Nations Relief and Work Agency, UNRWA, started operating within the camp, and over time it became the main provider of education, healthcare services, and protection for Palestinian refugees. Within the outbreak of the Lebanese Civil War and the 2000 war in Nahr al-Barid, the population grew in Ain al-Helwe from other Palestinians evacuating to Ain al-Helwe camp. And finally, because of the Israeli invasion and bombings, the camp witnessed a great number of casualties and destruction of the infrastructure. This camp contains approximately 80,000 Palestinian refugees in Lebanon from Syria and others. And it's also estimated to have more than 17 different militant factions. Children in this camp often witness armed clashes, and they are occasionally injured by stray bullets. As a result, schools in these camps often closed, and we can personally relate to this as it used to happen with us when we were still students there. One of the countless injuries is that of April 2017. As you can see in this picture, the whole area was destroyed. At one moment, the armed fighter could be, in one moment, there could be an armed fighter. And in another moment, in the same exact place, medics are rushing to help and saving whatever they can save.
So to better understand the problem, we met with different stakeholders, such as the school principal, teachers from Falouja school, and representatives of local NGOs. These interviews confirmed that there is no effort taken to protect children from violence, injuries, or even witnessing a murder. This caused heavy emotional trauma to the children. Also, hospitals are equipped only to deal with superficial gunshot wounds. During a shooting incident, it's difficult for children to escape to safety, and they cannot tell which direction is safe to run to. Also, to make the situation even worse, it's difficult for the ambulances to access schools in case of a gunfire incident and due to unsafe condition and narrow streets. So one of the 8 schools inside the Ain al-Helwe camp is a school for girls called Falouja UNRWA School, and it's located at the center where shootings between armed groups usually occur. And moving forward, we'll be administering surveys with children to better assess their needs in terms of mental well-being and psychological health. So based on all what we have presented so far and having experienced this firsthand, given that we either live inside Ain al-Helwe camp or in a close proximity to the camp, we teamed up together to design and implement a community service project that addressed the frequent injuries inside Ain al-Helwe camp caused by the armed clashes. So our project is of 2 main folds, the psychological and physical. First, we will be teaching teachers inside Ain al-Helwe camp from Falouja school about first aid training emergency. So the Red Cross will build our capacities, enabling us to learn more about the first aid emergency training to train teachers from Falouja school. And once this is done, the Red Cross, with our support, especially me majoring in nursing, will lead in the first aid training. And this is essential to ensure that Ain al-Helwe community can administer the best level of care for the victims until they are transported to the hospital. Second, we will be in collaboration with a psychologist. We will be training students from Falouja school between 12 to 14 years old and giving them therapeutic activities to ensure, such as painting sessions, to help lessen the heavy trauma experienced by them. Also to encourage them to confront their feelings instead of suppressing their emotions. And thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask you to please keep all your questions until the end so that we can allow all of our students to present. Next, I'm pleased to introduce a group of scholars from the MEPI Tomorrow's Leaders undergraduate program. Our scholars will be presenting their intervention entitled Collapse of the Safety Net, a mental health referral mechanism for the survivors of the illegal migration voyage in Tripoli. The floor is yours.
Today, we're presenting our capstone project titled Collapse of the Safety Net, a mental health referral mechanism for the survivors of the illegal immigration voyage in Tripoli. Meet the team. I'm Tala, and these are my teammates.
Hi, I'm Arwa Mohammed from Libya.
Hello everyone, I'm Elvira from Lebanon, and Ghalia, our teammate from Jordan, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today.
We chose this project because all of our countries are burdened with problems related to illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is the act of entering or residing in a country without proper authorization from the government. It is usually financially upward from poorer countries to richer countries. It is also a global challenge, so it usually happens from the countries of the global south to countries of the global north. While doing so, illegal immigrants are perceived as threats to the countries they're immigrating to. In addition, these illegal routes that they take make them vulnerable targets for human traffickers and rings of illegal activities.
For example, one manifestation of this exploitation is that in Libya, stranded illegal immigrants are usually used to fuel the underground illegal slave trade.
We also want to point out that people immigrating are mostly males, with few females and few children, which agrees with our own findings.
Disclaimer, the following photos that you see throughout the presentation are either taken by us during our field visits in Tripoli or are cited on the slides. The social safety net in Lebanon refers to structures and social identifiers that are designed to provide people with the support and services. In Lebanon, it is manifested in both formal and informal channels. The formal channels include healthcare, education, and social security. The healthcare sector in Lebanon has been traditionally dominated by private actors, which made it inaccessible to the vast majority of the socioeconomically vulnerable population, who had to resort to the government-neglected healthcare institutions. Since 2019, the sector has been severely struck by the financial collapse of the country and because of the brain drain of the medical personnel and the scarcity of medication and medical supplies. Education. Like the healthcare sector, the education sector in Lebanon has been traditionally dominated by private institutions and actors, which is making it more so increasingly inaccessible to the wider population who are unable to afford the increasing tuition rates. This has prompted families that are unable to afford these increased tuition rates to seek refuge in the public institutions, educational schools that are unable currently to cater for the increased rise of demands. As of 2022, approximately 1.8 million children, according to UNICEF, are at risk of being moved out of schools, forced into child labor, and even early marriage. Due to the significant decrease in the value of the Lebanese lira vis-à-vis the dollar, the social security pensions for the Lebanese population experienced a considerable devaluation, resulting in the loss of their entire life savings. As such, the country's labor force, in both its private and public sectors, and their retirees have been impoverished and stranded without any means to maintain their financial stability and subsist. On the other hand, we have the informal channels that are composed of the civil society, the clientelistic networks or the wasta system, and the sociocultural hierarchy. Civil society. Civil society has played a major role in the Lebanese community since the Civil War. Most civil society actors recently are being viewed with an eye of mistrust by the general public because of their political or sectarian affiliations and because of their inability to manage and properly distribute aid equally between different segments of the population. The clientelistic networks, or the wasta system as we know it in Lebanon, has traditionally used and depleted the resources of the central government in order to provide for their electoral and political bases turned beneficiaries. Since the government institutions' financial collapse, the ability of these clientelistic networks to provide for their beneficiaries has become restricted and scarce. And as such, those who have not traditionally benefited from such networks are left stranded even further with no access to resources and opportunities for upward social mobility. The last identifier in the informal channels include the sociocultural hierarchy. The safety net channel, as per the sociocultural hierarchy, is mostly composed of traditional structures such as political parties and religious institutions. The social identification with these traditional structures is weakened, leading to the breakdown of certain social norms and values, especially with the youthful population who are becoming increasingly disenchanted with the current socio-political order, prompting them even further to want to leave the country desperately, even via illegal and dangerous routes.
So before I talk about how the issue specifically localized in Tripoli, we actually want you to hear it first from the people up there who we interviewed in our field visits.
اللي عم يصير بالهجرة البحرية هناك تجار مافيا أساساً منظمة لحتى تعمل فلوس.
بعرف إنه نحن خسرنا كتير، يعني آخر 2 أو 3 سنين كانوا كتير صعبين. وقبل ما نخسر هذا الشيء كانت حياتنا صعبة، يعني لما طالبنا بأشياء هي كانت حقوقنا، فهلا أبسط حقوقنا راحت، مي، كهرباء.
حرام عم ياخد أخو وأبوه وأمه، عم يموت أبوه وأمه وأمه منشان يروحوا على استراليا وينبسطوا هونيك. لا ليش العيشة بدفع كل مصاري وما بموت لا أبي ولا أمي أنا.
طب عندنا طالعين أول شيء من حرب كبيرة، ثاني شيء من حرب اقتصادية يمكن أشد شراسة من الحرب الأولى. كتير عالم أنا سمعتهم عم يقولوا يا محلى حرب ال75. هيدي شغلة كتير خطرة إنه نوصل لمرحلة إنه العالم تستحلي حرب، لأنه بطل عندها رغيف تاكله، بطل فيها تعلم أولادها.
عمو صرت مع ابن عمي وفقد مرته و4 أولاد، وابن عمي الثاني وصل وعم يقول لي هونيك عايش بعز، يعني اجلكم انا حاجه سامعين كاني عايش مع الحمير، يعني واحد ببلده عم يتعذب.
الشباب بتموت بالبحر واهليهم يبكوا عليهم وكذا.
عم نشوف اولاد كثير بالشارع اللبنانيه غير السوريين، اول كنا نشوف السوريين، هلا صرنا عم نشوف اللبنانيه عم يبيعوا شوكولا وبسكوت بالشوارع بلا مدارس. هذا شيء كثير خطير. بكره لقدام حنشوف اجيال منها متعلمه، وهذا شيء بيشكل خطر على المجتمع بشكل عام. يعني حنشوف فئة بتسرق، فئة بتقتل، فئة مشان المصاري بتعمل كل شيء، لأنه ما في علم بكل بساطة. ما عندهم أمل بهالحياة، يعني صاروا بيستحلوا مثلا عندنا درمبكي شو هن ما عندهم مصاري يشتروا شيء.
Tripoli due to 3 conditions. The first being Tripoli's geographic location. Tripoli's port opens up to Cyprus and Turkey, which are used as entry points towards Europe. The second is that Tripoli, which is already considered the poorest city along the Mediterranean, has experienced the collapse of the safety net on a much deeper level compared to the other cities. Finally, Tripoli, unlike other cities, for example Beirut, has experienced a much weaker border-controlled security, which left room for the smugglers to operate from its port. And so it became a focal point for smuggling business, and it's really becoming lucrative. In 2016, 2017, the tickets used to cost $1,000 to $1,500, but it's on the rise as the situation continues to deteriorate, with some smugglers charging $2,000 to $2,500, and some are even charging as high as $10,000, especially if they provide them with gears to bypass border control. And so we started to witness a trend in which people are selling anything and everything to afford these tickets. While we were conducting our field visits, we did encounter this question of why wouldn't the families invest in small businesses? But I'm here to tell you that they have tried and it failed. And so they started to view the sea route as their only route. We've also witnessed the trend of people with family members who have tried the illegal route before, successfully so, are more likely to do so compared to others. Finally, we identified our demographic ranging from young families to unmarried individuals, being mostly men. And so the issue that we discussed today is underpinned by structural, social, economic, and political inequalities. And we acknowledge that it cannot be merely addressed by one intervention. Therefore, we chose to focus our efforts on the survivors of this risky voyage that really represents an at-risk and critical segment of the population. These individuals have suffered substantial losses, including the losses of family members, houses, possessions, but most importantly, their hope of a new beginning. They've also experienced deep psychological scars, ranging from anxiety, depression, to post-traumatic stress disorder, that is leaving them alienated from their communities. I also want to say that they are often ostracized by their communities for this choice.
Our logic of intervention is the following. We propose that they start direct clinical psychological support. Our referral mechanism consists of building a directory of local psychologists that these individuals can access. The system will be tailored to the identification, treatment, and follow-up of their cases. It also involves working with other organizations in order to facilitate these referrals and expand their reach so they could potentially involve the survivors' families and prospective illegal immigrants in order to ensure the sustainability of our project. We identified 6 individuals in order to pilot our program, but in the interest of time, we're going to narrate Muhammad's story only. Muhammad says, I actually came back around 15 days ago. I remember being 19 when I decided to leave. We set to Turkey so that we can immigrate to Cyprus from there. We were a mix of Lebanese and Syrian. Most of us were young, unmarried men with few families with us. Once we got to the river, the border control hit us with batons, broke our stuff, and threw us back in the river. They broke someone's hand, I still remember that. I decided to stay in Turkey as some people in the army helped us enter, but they took our passports away. I remained stranded in the streets there, working anything and everything to save up and try to immigrate again. I tried 7 times. One time I paid $100 to try to cross the borders, and another time I tried to do so through a truck and was captured. All my attempts failed. I faced a lot of discrimination there, and I'm glad to be back here, but I remain scarred. I will never try it again unless I can do so legally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third intervention is from the USAID Higher Education Scholarship Program Scholars, entitled Justice Accelerator App, a tech-based solution to streamline bureaucracy in the Mount Lebanon Juvenile Court. Scholars, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your attendance. Today we will be covering the following topics in our presentation. We will talk about the child protection and juvenile justice in general. Then we're gonna move to Lebanon's administrative system. We're gonna talk about the child protection as per the Lebanese law. Also, we're gonna talk more specifically about Mount Lebanon Juvenile Court. Thank you, Judge Joel, for attending, by the way. And the needed assessment that we did and our proposed intervention. The floor is yours, Maria.
Every child around the world has the right to be protected against violence, exploitation, and abuse. The rights of children are safeguarded through protection systems that provide them with access to social services such as education and juridical systems. This is how their physical, mental, and emotional well-being are protected. In 1994, the United Nations adopted the World Programme of Action for Youth, WPAY, which includes guidelines for national and international support to improve the situation of young people around the world. One of the priorities of the program is juvenile justice. Juvenile justice is the law put in place for children who are not old enough to be held accountable by crimes and who are in need of care and protection. A juvenile is a child or person under the age of 18. However, many countries around the world have a weak juvenile justice system, and some do not have at all. In these cases, young people who break the law are imprisoned with adults in conditions that are dangerous and inappropriate, filled with conflict, violence, and abuse. In Lebanon, Lebanese administrative systems are, including the juridical systems, are very outdated. There's little to no use of technology, and instead of using computers and databases to store data and trace and record it, employees normally jot down information using pen and paper. In 2002, the Office of Minister of State and Administrative Reform, OMSAR, developed an e-governmental strategy to better share and store information across governmental institutions. However, efforts toward this strategy have not been very successful because of the quality and the quantity of the technological advances in Lebanon that are very limited. This is mainly due to the country's weak internet and telecommunication infrastructure. For this reason, and to date, in Lebanon, we don't have an electronic court system. Most of the court-related juridical matters are still done by hand. This is particularly worrying for the juvenile justice, and as a result, many cases of the children are left lingering in the system due to the administrative delays, weak management, and zero transparency.
Okay, so hello everyone again. Unfortunately, in Lebanon, and up until today, most courts and courthouses and juvenile courts are still adult-oriented. They don't consider the case of children and juveniles whenever we are trying to solve their cases. The law 422, the Lebanese law, provides, however, that is titled Protection of Children in Violation of the Law or Exposed to Danger, provides certain necessary laws that need to be used for us to actually preserve the rights of juveniles whenever they are faced to certain juridical cases, yet they are up until today, most of the court, as I said, adult-oriented. And now we will see a clarification video that actually explains what the law 422 explains.
ماهية تدبير الحماية وغايته؟ المادة 27. إلا أنه يعود للقاضي بعد الاستماع للحدث وأولياء أمره أن يوكل أمر رعايته لإحدى المؤسسات الاجتماعية التي تعنى بحماية الأطفال. ماهية تدبير الحماية وغايته؟ المادة 27. شددت المادة 27 من القانون على أولوية إبقاء الحدث ضمن بيئته الطبيعية.
The European Union introduced the first ever child-friendly facility in the courthouse in Saida, and up until today they are still working on this, and similar facilities are being implemented in other courthouses such as the courthouse in Babda, in Beirut, in Tripoli, and in Nawati. And with that being said, we needed to better understand the case and situation of the juvenile court, especially in the Mount Lebanon in Babda. And for that we met with Judge Joel Abu Haidar, and for us to understand the challenges they are facing. And as a result of such meeting, we highlighted three main challenges. The first one, which is the most important one in our case, as we will be using it further to develop our solution, is the absence of any type of use of technology and digital processing in this court. All the referrals are either done by using a hotline with the partnership of other NGOs that will facilitate this process, or they are done in person through documenting them on paper. And this explains the absence of any kind of digital storage or information processing. So as I said, everything is done by hand. Okay. The second main conflict that the juvenile court in Babda is facing is the lack of any kind of surveillance cameras that are either placed in the interrogation room where children are being interrogated, or in any other place where children are transferred to, mainly to child protection units. And with that, we need other surveillance cameras for us to follow the process and make sure that the children are being protected and avoided of any kind of abuse. And definitely the last one, which is the crisis that Lebanon has been facing so far in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic or even the economic crisis, all of these filed up to even make things worse. Judges, for example, have been on a more long-term strikes, and this delayed even more justice being done. Further, with us being, after this meeting, we'll be further meeting with the NGOs and all the people that work closely with the court for us to better understand what are their needs and how to develop our solution, which Malak will explain in a second.
So, to enhance the juvenile justice system in Lebanon, and based on the fact that most of us are computer science students, we teamed up to develop a community service project that will facilitate the workflow at the Mount Lebanon Juvenile Court. So, taking into consideration the lack of technology, digital processing, storage, and ease of information sharing in these courts, we are developing a mobile application that addresses the challenges facing the juvenile court and ensures the protection of children passing through the justice system. So the application will serve as an internal information sharing system and database storage, which can be used and accessed by the judge and the whole team involved in a specific juvenile case. This will be exceptionally useful for people such as social workers, legal writers, and other administrative staff in the court. So the application is also designed to be used as a monitoring tool, as the team is incorporating a security camera feature inside of it. So this security camera will record footage that will allow the court to see what takes place inside the interrogation rooms where youth are being questioned, as well as organizations such as child protection units which house the juveniles. So this application therefore seeks the protection of children against abuse and violence, safeguarding their right to fair justice. If this app to be successful, it can be replicated to other courts across the country. And here are our references. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much. Last but certainly not least, we have our scholars from the MasterCard Foundation program with an intervention entitled Say More campaign, an anti-harassment intervention for adolescent girls. Scholars, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for your time for coming to attend our presentation. I'm Jean-Christophe Chubahiro. I'm a MasterCard Foundation scholar. And before we dig into our topic, I would kindly ask everyone in the audience to scan this QR code to answer what does the word sexual harassment mean to you. If it's not working, you can try menti.com and put this code 31324342. And thank you for your time. I see many people are scanning it. If the QR is not working, you can try the link. It's faster. Menti.com and add the code. Okay, now let's see what the audience thinks about the question. Okay, we can go for Menti. It's up. We can go for menti.com and put the code 31324342. Okay, everything is okay. Okay, now let's see what the audience thinks about our topic. Okay, some said lack of love. Okay, some said rape, disrespect, human rights violation, okay, abuse, unwanted sexual behavior, sexual violence, discrimination. And as you can see, we are still seeing a lot of responses, offense behavior. Yeah, mainly all the answers comes as one to describe what is really sexual harassment. And thank you very much for your time you took to reply to that. We are going to continue with our presentation. Okay, so our intervention is Say More campaign, which is an anti-harassment intervention for Palestinian adolescent girls in Buja Barajane camp. This is our team. Unfortunately, for some availability reasons, only the two of us were able to make it. We are going to walk you through our topic, analyzing it from the global challenge, go down to national manifestation, focusing on Lebanon, localization, talking more of Buja Barajane camp, and also tell you a little bit about our pilot intervention.
Thank you for that, Crispin. I'm Abdasis Chama. I'm also MCF Mastercard Foundation Scholar, senior student. When it comes to sexual violence as a global challenge, firstly, let's identify what sexual violence is. WHO defines sexual violence, and I quote, any sexual act, attempt to obtain a sexual act, unwanted sexual comments or advances or acts to traffic or otherwise directed against a person's sexuality using coercion by any person, regardless of their relationship to the victim in any setting, including but not limited to home and work. So, a study done by UNHCR said that 1 in every 5 refugee or displaced individuals face any kind of sexual violence. And also, only 30% of the women globally who actually encountered any kind of sexual violence reported that they actually experienced, which shows the stigma around this topic. And fortunately, there are many campaigns that really make awareness when it comes to sexual violence, such as Me Too campaign, which encourages women to speak up for their rights and have the courage to address if they face any sexual violence. And here in MENA region, the problem of sexual violence is very widespread, and there are like 60% of women who live in MENA region actually face any kind of sexual violence. Moving on to the national, here in Lebanon particularly, sexual violence has been a long-standing issue. And a study done by Abad showed that 78% of the respondents of women who took part of this study, they said that they face sexual violence. And one of the main things that makes sexual violence here in Lebanon to keep happening is the patriarchy culture, which creates inequality between men and women. Fortunately, in 2020, the Lebanese parliament, they passed law called Law 205. But unfortunately, this law excludes women like refugee women, especially Syrian and Palestinian women. And also it fails to notice the important factors when it comes to sexual violence, which clearly contributes sexual violence, just as weak labor laws, lack of reporting mechanisms, and lack of official ways of addressing sexual violence when it comes to preventing it.
Vulnerable population in Lebanon are mostly refugees, specifically refugees from Palestine and refugees from Syria. Palestinian refugees, they live in 12 camps around Lebanon, And it was many of those refugees from Palestine, they are based in Bujera Barajne. The camp was established in 1949, and it encompasses more than 40,000 refugees that are living there. But unfortunately, they go through a lot because first of all, they are banned from working, and they can't even they can't own properties, and worse than that, they can't even fix their rundown homes. And fortunately, there are some of humanitarian aid that comes for their aid specifically to help them with their education, health, and protection. To quote, one of them is UNRWA, doing a really great job for them. And the main issue with sexual harassment and all of things happening is that many of these crimes goes unaddressed. Why? In many cases, females, those who have been reporting, they have said that it's hard for them to speak out. They're afraid of speaking out and seek for help because they fear stigmatization. And one of the studies done by Abad has shown that 6 out of 10 refugee women who face sexual harassment, they didn't report such crime because of family honor. That's why, as a team, we came up with our CSP, which is about Say More campaign, which is an anti-harassment intervention for Palestinian girls living in Bujere Barajne camp. And we decided to make a training of trainers. We are going to recruit 15 women between 18 to 25 living in Bujera Barajne, specifically students who can speak both English and Arabic. And we want to train them to become community facilitators. And we couldn't do that on our side alone. That's why we decided to partner with one of our stakeholders, which is WPA, which is Women's Program Association. And one of the program it offers is to empower women through education and make sure that they are ready for their future, for the next generation.
Okay, our site of implementation is called Noor Center. We have been there for 3 times. This is us being there. They were very welcoming. And the site is located in Buchnal Brachne camp. So to do our own study and understand how girls who live in that camp feel when it comes to sexual harassment, we decided to come up with a survey that contains 10 questions. And this survey is being already distributed to the girls who live in the camp. We are still collecting the data, and we will be happy to share with you when it is done. So when it comes to our activities, firstly, we are going to talk about sexual harassment and what it means and the idea of understanding concepts. And then we are going to move forward to talking about how to report when it comes to sexual violence if they face, and how to have the courage to report. And then we are going to hire a female trainer who is going to train these young women, and they are going to be trained. They're going to learn sexual, self-defense and non-combative self-defense, where they are going to defend themselves if they face any kind of sexual violence. And we are going to give them emergency cards where they are going to contact some NGOs like Abad if they face any sexual violence in the camp or around the area. And then lastly, we are expecting that these young women who are going to receive our training to be community facilitators who spread the word and pass the knowledge to other girls who live in the camp so that they make an impact. And in the near future, we are hoping to see an impact in Brachne camp. And we are also following up with their change and how they are making difference in the community. And that is very much our project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for all of the 4 CSPs, which were fantastic. I am now happy to welcome representatives from each of the CSPs to the stage for the Q&A. So before we begin the Q&A, I want to say thank you for these amazing CSPs. I think you have kicked off the day with an amazing example of how CCECS and how our students have mobilized to respond to these very timely and very important societal challenges and conflicts. So really, you have to be commended for your amazing work. I'd now like to open the floor for Q&A from the audience. Would anyone like to ask? I remind you that there are representatives from each of the 4 CSPs that you just saw. So there was gun violence, illegal migration, juvenile justice, and anti-harassment. If there are no questions from the floor yet, I think I'm going to ask you all a question. And I'm really interested, I think, if each one of you can comment a bit on your experiences in developing these CSPs. And also, I think most of you are either continuing your journey here at AUB or graduating soon. What are you taking from each of these CSPs beyond graduation, so beyond our campus walls?
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm working on the Juvenile Justice Accelerator app. So one thing I'd like to take from the project is how our project is going to be a part of a bigger plan to make more justice for the children in Lebanon, and that we're going to be part of that chain that leads to the justice and the protection of these children. That also they've committed maybe crimes because of their background, lack of education, poverty, and all the situation in Lebanon, but we are here to protect them and to help them become better. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Hi, I'm Arwa. We're from the referral mechanism for the illegal migration. And our idea kind of started with an interest in a class. How we went on about it at first was to tackle the human rights abuses. But like once we were on the ground, all of these issues of the survivors and their psychological state started coming up, which is sort of refers also to our home countries in some ways. And so we really became interested into tackling that, but most importantly, so doing it in a sustainable way. So even when we graduate, which most of us are graduating, we leave behind the system that's able to cater for more and more. And what's more important is that we wanted to expand not only to the survivors, but to the individuals at risk. For example, there was, we couldn't say his story, but there was Mustafa. And as we're interviewing one of our participants, Mustafa was talking, he was like,
incidents that I mentioned in the presentation. I hope to create a better future for future kids and generations and for ourselves by emergency and psychological first aid training. So we hope to minimize the number of injuries or of what they have been through inside this camp. So we hope to create a good future for these kids.
So speaking of the experiences that we gained throughout doing this project, community-based project, it was, I can say, was a lifetime lesson for us. We going through the articles and learning more knowledge, gaining, doing research was really fruitful. And also this community-based project is a training for us. So as a MasterCard Foundation scholar, our motto or slogan is to go back and give back. So this kind of problems really happen in our communities. So we are looking forward to implement the same projects back in our community.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor again for Q&A from the audience. Yes.
Hi, I'm Joel Abu Haidar. I work as a judge. I'm not a judge, because judge is not my identity. So I am very scared when someone called me by Judge Joel Abu Haidar, because I'm afraid once I leave the judicial system that I will lose my identity. And I came just to witness for the work of the team working on the juvenile application, but I was amazed by being honored to witness all these projects. And if you could just give me a few minutes, I just want to honor all of you. But if I want to put just everything under one name, all the projects under one name, it will be simply love. It's not how we do our projects. It's not how we live. It's why we're doing so, why we are living, why we are choosing to do the job we work at, and simply why we are being. And by finding the why, we find our identity. One day, a young girl, a juvenile minor girl, came to my court. She was extremely abused by her father. She came and she asked for help. And she just said, "Can you just help me finding my mother?" I said, "Of course." And she began to give me info about her family, how she was raised in an association. And while she was speaking, she said once her dad was beating her and sexually abusing her, he told her, "I will kill you just like I did with your mother." And here I was shocked because I asked her, "You came to search for your mother, right?" She said, "Yes." I told her, "But you just mentioned that your mother died. So I'm confused. Who are you searching for?" She said, "I don't know if my mother died or no, but I want to know where she is now. If she died, please help me and guide me and tell me where she is. And if she didn't die, I just want to meet her." And this young girl teach me a lot, because we are all searching for a truth. We are all searching for our identity. And we cannot find who we are out of the one who created us. His name is God. And it's for the glory of God that I'm witnessing, for the purpose of love, all these projects. I came to not to talk about the law, neither to say that I'm a judge. I came on a personal level, representing myself as a human being, as a daughter of the King, daughter of the God, and saying that I'm working for his kingdom. And for that, I learned that it's by giving that we receive. But if we don't have anything to give, that we will not be able to receive. We are all, including myself, and I dare to say everyone, is wounded. We are all wounded by the lack of love, coming maybe from our families, our school, our university, our friends, our society. And the lack of love cannot be healed but by love. Joel Abu Haidar, working as a judge, I dare again to say that law protects. Yes, I can protect someone who is being abused or who is in danger. I can protect someone who even committed a crime, because no one were born as a criminal. The criminal side is the wound still bleeding in us. The law protects, yes, but the law never heals. So what it heals is love. I came with a small gift. I don't know if Rabia is here. Is still Rabia here? Okay, so I came to give a small gift. Rabia is not here, right? Okay. So the small gift will be given to Karen. You have to put your phone off. Karen is a very close friend of mine. Rabia, okay. Rabia, you missed your opportunity because I was supposed to give you a gift, but it will be given to Karen now instead. But I want you to witness what this gift is. Karen is a very close friend of mine, a very dear, the most mature friend I have in my whole life is Karen. And she knew I had an interview on Instagram, and she asked you as a student to participate in that interview. And now we are 2 years later witnessing a project for the juvenile court. If you think it began as a coincidence, well, I tell you no. I don't believe it's a coincidence. Karen, I brought to you a gift. I just want you to see what it is and to say on the micro what you're saying. What do you see?
Almost an empty box, but it has like a small dot. What is this?
Okay, this is a box. It seems like an empty box, but there is something in it. It's not Hawa Lebanon. It's bigger than a country, and it's bigger than the air. What you have inside is a seed. You can call it a seed of love, but I call it a seed of faith. And to the God I worship, I say, and he says, that a faith as little as a mustard seed is all what you need. So this gift will be given to Karen, but since it's a seed of love, it will be shared by simply giving love. So thank you for all the love you have within you, and thank you for inviting me to this event that I attend to as on a personal level, not as a judge, but as a Joel. And just remember that what our world needs right now is love, and love lives within us. We just have to get back to our true identity and to get back to our holy relationship with the one who created us, God. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 10 more minutes if we're ending at noon. So I want to also open the floor again to Q&A. We have a question at the back. Yes. If you'd like, please introduce yourself. Press down.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your amazing project. It's really amazing to hear that so much inspiration is out there. So this is Selma. I'm a sophomore student here and majoring in political science. So basically, one of the things that I noticed in all projects, they're so inspiring, and the term of sustainability that was brought up by one of the panelists out there, it was like made the best of it. So my question is, since you guys started in it, I was wondering about the implementation itself. How do you guys envision this happening? Because sometimes when it comes to such projects, we're talking about big projects with a big impact. It's kind of like to people always impossible to happen. So how do you guys envision that this actually can happen on the ground and can be easily implemented? So thank you so much.
Thank you. So this is a question that goes to the panel. We'll start off with you, and please pass the...
Thank you very much. So for the implementation, our implementation is a mobile application for the judge and her team. What we'll do is we will start off developing the application as soon as we can, and our project is going to be the first milestone Other teams are going to continue the developing of the application and updating it because it's a long process. So we're going to start off with the implementation and the development as soon as we can. And of course, other teams are going to continue on our work.
So we still haven't implemented yet, but we do envision creating a space in which the organizations and the psychologists sort of come together and start at least by treating the first 6 cases that we identified. We hope to have like a bi-weekly sessions with those members, and then maybe in the future sort of expanding it to reach their families, but also the at-risk individuals that we identified, maybe in the hopes of stopping them from doing this risky voyage. It is certainly a hard task, but if in one visit we were able to identify 6 individuals and find those who are willing, then I guess this project can continue.
So same thing here. The project is not yet implemented, but we're planning to implement it very soon. For the implementation, we're gonna take emergency training from the Lebanese Red Cross, and then we're gonna train teachers in one of the UNRWA schools inside the camp, Falouja. And these teachers are gonna train students. And for the psychological first aid training, we're gonna collaborate maybe with iLeaf Art to give painting sessions for children. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, as my colleague said, implementing projects is not as easy as they might sound. But for us, we already we are almost done with everything. We are going to implement our project very soon, this upcoming month, May. So yes, we are looking forward to implementing it.
Thank you very much. Question on implementation was great. We have a question over here, please. Yeah. You have a microphone coming.
Hi, I'm Rami, MEPI-TLU. I'm here to support all the students. Great job on your presentations, but specifically my MEPI-TLU students presenting later. I guess it's a question or a comment for these presenters and maybe the upcoming ones. A lot of times we're talking about the solution being digital-based. It's a website, it's an application, and that's great. But we cannot count on our level of digitization home, or the level of digitization at a camp, or the people who go at the camp or at the juvenile center. So I was wondering if you even thought about the challenges that just come with that. If you're going to implement this application, you're going to have to train everyone to use it. But those kind of solutions come with challenges that we already have when we're implementing in Lebanon. So I want, hopefully, if you have any answer or if you thought about it. And I hope the future presenters, if they also have digital-based solutions that they're implementing, to even talk a little bit about the challenges and how they would fix them.
For the application that we're going to develop, the application is going to link the judge with 2 of her NGOs that are collaborating with her, and we've talked to them, we've interviewed them, and they've also mentioned their ability to digitalize the process. They were working on it, but not on a mobile application, so they are willing to put in the effort. Also, we limited the number of people who are going to have access to that application, who are going to be the judge and 2 other people, and this limits the challenge, if you want to say, of educating and helping the people get familiar with the application. We have also an interface with the user, with any user. We're going to develop that only for submitting the reports to the court. So it's going to be a straightforward user interface. I hope this answers your question.
Well, for us, there's nothing basically digital. We do have 6 individuals who have tried illegal immigration before, and you can understand their sort of mistrust towards being online. I mean, we identified 6 and we couldn't say the name of one who wanted to remain completely anonymous. And so our project is mostly in-person based, with us going even with the psychologists and the people, because they trust us more.
We don't have any.
Actually, it is the same for us. We don't have any digital solutions, but I think we are going to give the trainings to the young women. We are going to give them small cards with emergency contact and stuff. So that might need to have an app to contact or something. And I think nowadays everybody, especially youth, they are like technologically savvy, so we won't need any like training and any other further trainings that we are going to implement this.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay, we'll take our last question for this panel.
Hello, my name is Giri, and I just had a quick question for all the panels today. So you all had a project and a plan to implement these projects, but I just had a question on how long do you plan to see an action or your project come to life and the effects of what you plan to do? So how long how long until there's action? How long until these plans work? So do you have a future or any plans about that?
So for my project, as you can see, as you saw maybe in the slides, the files are stacked on top of each other in the juvenile court. There are many cases, and all the administrative system in Lebanon is like this. So if we start today, this project is going to span over many years, but we should start at some point by the case files that we get today in order to have a better organization of the cases, have better systems. So I would say the timeline is quite long, but we have to start at some point. That's why it's urgent to start as soon as we can.
On the other hand, our timeline is sort of accelerated. We did start a while ago, and we do have our individuals that we want to start the intervention with. We're just only in the process of trying to identify our partners, the psychologists we want to work with, because we just don't want to get anyone. We want actually the psychologists to be locally based so that they can actually establish more rapport with the people, relate to them more. And we're still in the process of, but it should be anytime soon, hopefully.
Okay, so for our project, we will start with one UNRWA school inside the camp, and hopefully we can make it to other schools. But for now, we can only work with one school, because one school inside the camp is 1,200 students and above. So it's really hard to manage to give training to all schools inside the camp.
And also for our project, as we said in the presentation, we said it's mainly TOT, training of trainers. So when we train these young women, they are going to be community facilitators. They are going to pass their knowledge to other young girls. So it will be a lifetime impact for this community. Yeah, inshallah.
Thank you very much. And with that, we have ended actually our first panel of the day. I want to first of all say thank you to the AUB Engage Forum, to Rabia, all of the team at CCECS, and more importantly to all of you for your brilliant projects and your dedication and determination to see change and be the change makers that we need in the country and beyond at the moment. So thank you very much.